Teams missing their franchise superstar aren't supposed to look cohesive, dangerous, or confident. They're not expected to string together wins against playoff-caliber opponents or slowly morph into something more polished than anyone projected. They aren't supposed to uncover new contributors, redefine their offensive identity, or suddenly begin playing their most connected basketball of the season. Yet somehow, against every rule of logic, the Boston Celtics have done exactly that. They've built a 12-0 run without the face of their franchise, stacking victories over Cleveland, New York, Orlando, and Detroit, each win feeling less like a miracle and more like a statement. They've stabilized, adapted, and elevated themselves behind the most complete version of Jaylen Brown the league has ever seen, transforming a season that should have spiraled into one that now feels strangely promising. The uncertainty entering the year revolved around one question: was Jaylen Brown capable of being more than a co-star? Could he be the engine of an entire franchise when the weight of the offense fell squarely on him? The Celtics needed more than flashes, more than the occasional takeover. They needed consistency, leadership, and production that didn't fade once defenses keyed in on him. And the wild part is that Jaylen hasn't just answered those questions, he's erased them entirely. With him on the court, Boston's offensive rating skyrockets to 121.5. When he sits, that number collapses to 109.7, a swing so enormous it almost feels fictional. That kind of gap reflects a player who isn't simply contributing, but a player through whom the entire structure flows. Over the last stretch of games, he's averaged nearly 31 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, and close to 3 stocks while taking every team's best defender head-on. This isn't situational success. This is a player stepping into a new role and sustaining it night after night. His mid-range game, once just a tool, has become his signature weapon. He's taking more long mid-range jumpers than any player in the league, scoring on them at an elite efficiency that puts him in a tier with specialists like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Kevin Durant. These are shots that salvage broken plays, that keep offenses alive, that punish defenses even when spacing collapses. And Boston has relied on them heavily. The criticism that has hovered over Jaylen for years has been the looseness of his handle. Yet this season, even that part of his game has quietly transformed. He's tighter, cleaner, more composed with the ball. The turnovers haven't disappeared, but the context matters. Boston is asking him to orchestrate nearly 30% of their possessions, a massive jump in responsibility. And despite that, he's more confident with his dribble, better at reading defenses, and more capable of attacking with precision rather than sheer force. When he slides back into his natural role once Tatum returns, this elevated version of himself may become one of the most devastating second options in basketball, turning Boston into a matchup nightmare for months to come. But Jaylen alone wasn't going to carry the Celtics through the storm. They needed shooting, spacing, and secondary scoring from their backcourt. Early in the season, those contributions were missing. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, the two players expected to stabilize the perimeter, were both ice cold. White was around 28% from deep, Pritchard at 26%, and combined they were barely scraping 30 points per game on poor efficiency. But then everything flipped. Over the last 8 games, the two have erupted. Pritchard has turned into a flamethrower, hitting 45% of his threes on nearly 10 attempts per game, and stretching defenses in ways Boston desperately needed. White, on the other hand, not only rediscovered his shot at nearly 40% from deep, but reclaimed his identity as one of the most impactful two-way guards in basketball. His defense has remained elite, and once his offense caught up, he delivered performances that reminded the league why he's a vital piece of Boston's core. What's even more surprising is that the Celtics bench, widely considered one of the weakest in the league entering the season, has become a quiet strength. Young players and fringe rotation pieces who were never guaranteed real minutes are now contributing to wins in meaningful ways. Jordan Walsh has emerged as the kind of glue player every contender wants but few possess. His numbers aren't loud, but his presence shifts the floor. His defense, rebounding, and constant movement have made Boston over 10 points better per 100 possessions when he's on the court. Then there's Neemias Queta, whose impact has been nothing short of staggering. With him on the floor, Boston's defense transforms completely. The team goes from looking shaky to looking like one of the stingiest units in the league. These contributions have been essential, the kind of hidden value that allows a team to survive in the absence of its star. And that brings everything back to the story that's beginning to dominate the Celtics season: the possible return of Jayson Tatum. The updates have been vague but hopeful. The whispers have gotten louder. The footage from his workouts appears sharper. The organization is cautious, but Tatum's own urgency is clear. A return in February or March has always felt optimistic, but the speculation hasn't stopped. And the truth is, he may not need to be the MVP version of himself right away. Even at 70% strength, his spacing gravity, his scoring presence, and his defensive instincts could transform Boston's ceiling. If he can return by March and build himself back up to near full form by the playoffs, the entire Eastern Conference becomes unpredictable. Few teams look truly dominant right now. Boston, with even a semi-functional Tatum, becomes a threat no one wants to see in a 7-game series. The front office now stands at a crossroads. Whether Boston remains in striking distance of the playoffs by March will determine how aggressively Brad Stevens must act at the trade deadline. If the team holds strong without Tatum, a bold move could be justified, signaling a belief that a deep playoff push is realistic this year. If they slide too far down the standings, patience becomes the play, saving their biggest moves for the offseason. But the direction still feels clear. Something big is coming for this franchise. They've proven resilience, depth, and adaptability under conditions that should have broken them. And if this is how they look without their superstar, the rest of the league will have to brace themselves for what happens when he returns. Before you go, share your thoughts. Do you think the Celtics can sustain this momentum until Tatum returns? How far can this team go once they're fully healthy? Let me know your predictions in the comments, and make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification